So the first artist that we have is Aska Fayaz. Please give it up.
Yes.
Assalamualaikum everyone, my name is Aska Fayaz. I'm a second year poli-sci major here at UC Davis. My poem is called Bananas. Racial profiling, professionally filing, no emoticons, notification, ding. What does your profile look like? No, I'm not talking about your Facebook, I'm talking about the facets of your book. The chapters in your heart and the looks on your face when encountering a new personality of human being without even a hint of grace. They say, don't judge a book by its cover, but recall how many times a day do we judge each other. Simply put, we judge bananas by their black blots, not knowing that the ripeness is well suited for the taste buds and hits just the right spots. Humanity is the same way, except some days we treat bananas better than we treat each other, and there's something utterly wrong with that. And I finally opened my eyes to see this harsh reality in Arizona, New Mexico, and even the Golden State we adore, California. Demographics state that 38% of Californians are Latino, but let me tell you, 100% of California would not even be alive if it weren't for los amigos. What these people do, I dare you to step a day in their shoes during degrees of 103 and colder days when if we'd be outside, we'd freeze. These people pick and plow and mow and hoe and set the grass to green upon the request of farmers. Nice or mean, they make an honest living working. They may have come here illegally, but Columbus didn't have a passport, and no one complained about his lack of an ID. Queen Victoria sent her ship and then her armies, and that they were colonizing, imperializing, manifest destiny that excuses their heinous behaviors towards the Native American dynasties. Undocumented workers are working not to document themselves into citizenship, and AB 540 students are working 40 times harder than the average overachiever simply to have 1/40th of a chance at success in the American nation of reformed pioneers. Mom and Dad had a lack of an education, but immigrated to this country in hopes of earning a little bit of Uncle Sam's liberty, and it sure would be nice if they could give an ounce of respect instead of just shattering their dignity. And I weep for the folks whose families are torn apart and cultures are frowned upon, ultimately infringing wounds deep in the heart when long nights turn into sleepless mornings and daydreams into nightmares, because there's always that fear that one day a uniformed man will knock on your door because you still haven't achieved your American dream. You're a criminal? What are your crimes? You work too hard to support your family, and apparently you're a wetback because you're hunched over, spent 365 days a year, 7 days a week to pick the food they'll feed me and my family. Yeah, why don't you go back to your country? Because ideally my American lazy self is gonna do squat. Funniest joke I've ever heard, please. All it takes is one action. Start with your banana, continue with your apple, respect the seed, and plant a tree.
Fong Tran, are you here? I didn't see you. Is he here? There he is. Give it up.
What's up? What's up? How are we doing? You're a lot taller than I am, Jay. Cool. Thank you for having me. My name is Fong Tran. Anybody ever been to the Cross Cultural Center? Yeah, very nice. Very nice. I probably see you ladies all the time, every day. So I actually work for the Cross Cultural Center here as a professional staff. I'm a program advisor for the African diaspora and the Asian Pacific Islander community. I'm not Muslim, but I definitely get down with Muslim folks. Right? I like to think so. I'm a big believer in coalition building and recognizing that our stories may be different, but our struggle is all the same, right? And so, yeah, and so this poem hopefully reflects kind of like those common issues that we go through. This poem's called the U.S. History Textbooks. I know, very exciting topic, right? All right, you having a good time? Clap once, clap twice, clap 3 times. They say those who cannot learn from history are doomed to repeat it. So it must be the case that he who wrote history wanted a rendition, regurgitation, relapse or repeated mistakes. Cause all I see when I watch the news are headlines that match the chapter titles of my high school history textbooks. Worlds and war and Western thinking run on repeat like broken records. Eurocentric euphemisms like Western expansion, exploration, manifest destiny, and spreading democracy are just tactful translations from the truth as slave trade, colonists, imperialism, exploitation of your natural resources, and a bad excuse for U.S. military. Americans play this red, white skin, blue Superman, Syria savior mentalities. Third world nations being left with nothing but pillaged lands, broken homes, and false promises of American dreams. U.S. history textbooks are written like a bad version of Lord of the Rings, and I've been bored since the first book. America is Frodo Baggins, Uncle Sam is Gandalf, and the evil Sauron is made out to be every youth of color with the hoodies, Skittles, and iced tea, men and women in hijab or turban, or someone with a family crest on their chest, gang validity is a thug-related tattoo. World history is just American propaganda. Last year's communist is this year's terrorist. The blatant bastardizing of brothers of color just to beat them down. So maybe history doesn't repeat itself, but it sure does rhyme a lot. And we are just caught up in a bad fairy tale. If you do not tell your own stories and write down your own histories, then someone else will. And I'm not saying it's the man, but that someone is usually really white, really old, and really male. Right? And the alphabet soup at the end of his name, PhD, confuses him. Confuses what he understands to be facts is really just a glorified opinion. So please, sir, expert your way out of wrongful omission. Please tell my young students that Vietnamese people, my history, is more than just 2 textbook pages about a war. But we're a peoples, a cultures, a way of life. Please tell my Hmong students their people's history in helping the US CIA. Why is it still a goddamn secret and no one knows about it? We must reclaim the history that has yet been told to us. And if hypocritical historians can predictably brand on this racist rundown, a biased narrative, then I can too. So from now on, the migration of Vietnamese people to America will now be known as manifest beautification, because you know, we look good. And this post-racial myth that believes that we are all the same and out of beautiful diversity of many different called melting pot of America. Well, we should just call that phoism, because you know, anything with a little bit of pho always makes it better, right? And my mother is a real POW. Not a prisoner of war, but being in a refugee camp for 8 months, she was in a prison among warriors. We will write our own stories. We will make our own histories upon canvas, upon page, upon walls, upon minds. Just want to give it up to MSA. Can we give it up one more time for them? I just want to take the opportunity to thank them, thank Israel for inviting me and having me. Definitely for all the UC Davis students that want to use me as a resource. My office is always open. You know, like I said, it's all about community building. Hopefully that kind of reflects the issues that we all kind of go through. And it's really important for us to, if we suffer together, it's important for us to uplift each other together, right? There is a Asian Pacific Islander leadership retreat that's happening in January. The applications are due today at 7 o'clock. But if you want to talk to me or Israel personally and maybe get a small window to get a date extension, date being like a couple hours, but we will make an exception and make it work. I would love the opportunity. I'm not going to stay, but if you want to get in contact with me, I have a really official website, legit like that. It's fallenstrandpoetry.tumblr.com. Thank you so much.
Alright, knock knock.
Who's there?
Knock knock.
Who's there?
The seats are open. The seats are open who? The seats are open, so please fill them in because people are standing, because it's messed up. So if you see a seat in front of you, please fill it in. People are standing up, we don't want them to stand up, alright? So if you see one next to you and you're in an aisle, like go to the side a little. Make some room for our people, okay? Alright, next up, we got Nawal Hasune. So please come up, give it up for Nawal.
Okay, so my poem is called The First Snowfall in Jerusalem. So it doesn't snow there very often, but when it does, it's super beautiful. Also, I want to say that poetry is a big part of the Palestinian solidarity movement. So it's a way to preserve the culture in a way, in a time that we can. So it's hard to. The first snow falls over Jerusalem. Suspenseful flurries of ice float down, filling the sky. Every flake a tear for Palestine shed. Beautiful and somber at the same time. The snow falls, and for those first few seconds, life stops. Everyone stares up at the sky at flakes falling. And for those first few seconds, conflicts cool, fights burn out, politics simmers. It's like none of it exists for those first few seconds. Kids walk out of the shadows of the old city, smiling. Palestinian laughter can even warm the icy hearts of Israeli soldiers, just for those first few seconds. The once suffocating tensions between Israelis and Palestinians is cooled by the angelic powder filling the holy earth. And for those first few seconds, they admire the beauty of Jerusalem. Dome of the Rock is a shining pearl lying on a silk white backdrop. The air around it smelling crisp and fresh, blanketing the smell of war. Tanks freeze, checkpoints silence, and sadness subsides just for those first few seconds. The cool air flushes the cheeks and cleanses the soul in sweet, chilling silence. Khawiyeh! Passports, he barks at the mother standing at a checkpoint. And after those first few seconds, life unfreezes. Chaos resumes, tanks slither on, soldiers wipe the grin off their face. The shops continue selling and the politicians continue lying, and life goes back to the way it was before. The first snowfall of Jerusalem does more than any politician could. Praise be to him. Because for those first few seconds, just those first few seconds, there is peace.